Well, it's the holiday season. We have our first heartwarming movie, Silent Night, which is about a family that gathers for Christmas. Oh, and then some terrible things happen. Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watcher Pass, and let's talk Silent Night, the new Christmas horror drama that's being released in theaters and on AMC Plus on December 3rd, 2021. It is an interesting holiday film. It is loosely holiday based because it involves a family that comes together, but then some very interesting things happen. So I'm going to talk to you about the film, some things I liked, some things I didn't like, and I will be going into spoilers. I kind of have to really kind of explain the film. So if you haven't seen the movie and don't want to know what happens, don't watch this. Go check it out and then come listen to my thoughts. I actually thought the mystery was an interesting aspect of it. So if you don't want to know what happens, it's not a bad idea to go in just without any foreknowledge about it. But this film, we kind of have to talk about the things that happen to really get my thoughts about it. So hot take, I think this is ultimately a rental. I liked the drama. I liked the cast of characters. There were a lot of things that were interesting in this film. But ultimately, I didn't love the dark comedy. I didn't think it merged as well with the drama as it could have. I don't think that the dark comedy reached the same kind of level as the drama did. So ultimately, they felt like they were not connecting well and they were almost a little disjointed. And I didn't love some aspects of the story and especially the ending. So ultimately, I think it's a rental. You can stream it on AMC Plus if you don't want to go to theaters. I think ultimately that's probably the way to go. So in Silent Night, you have this family and group of friends that gather in this remote country house to celebrate Christmas, but there seems to be something going on. There's something driving them or something that's unspoken that is affecting them as they're doing this. And you find out later the reason why, and essentially what is happening. And you don't really, it's not clear at the start. You kind of get hints about it, but what is happening is there's this, I guess, cloud of poison gas that is kind of enveloping the earth. And so this family has gathered to celebrate, kind of remember their good times, and then take this government supplied exit pill, essentially to allow yourself to commit suicide before this gas happens, because the gas will cause like a painful, prolonged death, whereas this pill will be a very quick one. So this whole movie is this kind of tense push and pull between this family trying to celebrate and enjoy their last Christmas with the impending doom that's happening. And that leads to some interesting situations and some interesting dynamics between everyone. And for better or worse, it leads to some comedy and some drama. This film is a dark comedy / drama. I didn't love that aspect of it, and I'll get into the reasons a little bit later, but just be warned, there are some very different themes that kind of try to meld together in this movie. So things I liked about this movie. The first is the cast. I mean, this is a really great cast. You've got Keira Knightley, you've got Annabelle Wallis, you've got Lily Rose Depp, you have Matthew Good, Roman Griffin Davis. It is a very good cast, a very interesting group of characters, and they all kind of gather together. And it is an interesting ensemble cast because you do have some very, very different personalities that all meld and then have some friction during this holiday. It is very much like a family gathering. And I think they're all friends. They're friends / family. And so you do get to see some of those dynamics as well. Like everyone knows on Christmas, sometimes sometimes not everyone gets along. Sometimes there's old grudges or things that get brought up. And so that is apparent here. I do like how the cast of characters and their very different personalities led to some diverse and interesting interactions throughout this whole night. The second thing I liked about this movie is the drama, and that is mostly towards the end when you really kind of find out what is happening and what is about to happen. Because before you really understand what's happening, there's some celebration, but there's always something underlying it that you don't really get until the end. And then when you finally understand the kind of gravity of the situation, and like I said, spoilers, there will be spoilers, when the family and the friends all kind of have to make that choice of, are they going to take this pill? You get some really good drama. Like you get some interesting interactions, you get some very strong emotions, and you get a very different perspective on what's happening and very different take from each of the main groups of people. Like it's kind of like three groups of friends and some of their family. And because of how different their personalities are, and because of kind of the different life situations. But then also one thing I liked is in the buildup, you also get some very different takes as well. You get to see how this group deals with and confronts kind of their impending doom. And you do see some, it has some end of the world type aspects. You have people getting rid of their filter, you've got some confessions, you've got some tension that occurs, and all of this makes for some very interesting viewing towards the end after you kind of understand what is going on. And the last thing I liked is the mystery, although I did think it was a mixed bag. I mean, I think it's interesting that you don't know what's happening. There always seems to be something underlying what is going on. You also don't know exactly where everyone fits on the spectrum of, are they going to end it or are they going to kind of fight it out? And that clears up along the way, but it is kind of an interesting aspect of this film that you don't really know what's happening. You kind of get a sense. There are some like news stories and a few like radio broadcasts and things like that that give you hints, but you don't really get the gravity of the situation until kind of the very end. And that's when everything kind of makes itself clear. So things I didn't love, the mystery was interesting, but I do think it also kind of hurt the overall story because you don't get a sense of what is going on. Like, especially at the start when you're wondering what's happening, there are some outbursts and there are some, quick character swings that happen and you're not sure why. You don't really know what is going on. And also because a lot of it is shrouded mystery and you don't actually get a lot of exposure to what's happening outside of this isolated area, you don't know how bad it is out there. You kind of get a sense, like people say some things, but it would be nice if there were like news stories or some imagery that really drove home how bad this was, because without that, it's tough to really understand what this group is afraid of. Like, as far as there's this cloud of gas, and they do say like, oh, you die in agony, but there's no kind of definitive proof. And then I think one person does say like, well, the scientists say this, but it would be nice if there was maybe a little bit more media, a little bit more kind of background that helps frame this pandemic, or this. It would be nice if there's a little bit more background, maybe a little like some news stories that help to frame this overall apocalyptic situation, because it's kind of tough when there is an apocalypse and you don't really understand how bad it is. And the second thing I didn't love is the comedy. And this might just be, I don't know, maybe I just didn't connect with the type of humor. It's billed as a dark comedy, but I didn't actually find a lot of it funny. I mean, there were some funny scenes, like there were some scenes that I thought were clever, but overall, I thought the comedy distracted from the drama, which I liked more. And especially at the end, when you have this rich, intense moment where everyone is trying to decide, like, what are they going to do? And then in the middle of that, there is one of the couples starts dancing. And I thought that really, it didn't fit the rest of the mood. And I thought that kind of took away from the overall climactic conclusion. Now, that couple eventually ends up doing something that kind of fits along with the dramedy, but that it had this, the movie tries to straddle this kind of tone, these two different worlds of like a dark comedy and a drama, and it just doesn't fit. I don't think the comedy rose to the same level as the drama, so then you get these two kind of disjointed aspects that don't really meld, and I think that it actually takes away from what could have been a very interesting dramatic movie. I do appreciate trying to add the comedy, and I think that this cast could have done it, but I don't know, for some reason it didn't stick with me. It didn't really meld. Maybe it wasn't consistent enough, maybe it wasn't throughout, but for some reason the comedy just didn't really do it for me. And the last thing I didn't love are the effects. I mean, the effects in this movie, and the last thing I didn't love are the effects. Now, there's not a lot of effects, but there are some effects when they're talking about this like gas cloud and how it starts with these little like whirling dervishes of toxic chemical or toxic gas that are then that precede this cloud, this wave of gas, and all of that was computer generated. It didn't really look that good, especially the little dervishes or mini tornadoes. Those did not look very good. They didn't seem that intense or that scary. And then the actual cloud of smoke, it looked very computer generated. I mean, it wasn't bad, it was a well done aspect of it, but it did look like it was added on. And so that, again, it just kind of took away from the overall fear of this situation without having more accounts of how grave this was. And then seeing when the actual payoff is a little bit of a letdown, it doesn't lead to the situation where you are fearful for what's going to happen. It just seems like this group of people are afraid of nothing. And the last thing I didn't love is some aspects of the ending, specifically when I believe his name is Art, one of the younger kids, I think the youngest kid, he ends up waking up. So what happens in the film is you've got Art is out. He gets in an argument with his parents about taking the pill. He runs away, and while he's out there, he's exposed to the gas. So theoretically, that means he's going to be dead. And what happens is after he gets exposed, his parents bring him back. He starts to convulse, but no one really sees that. And then his mom comes in and starts to kind of cradle him. And at that point, he's already kind of gone. And so while the rest of the groups are trying to figure out if they're going to take the pill or not, Art kind of, it looks like he expires. Like his mom pulls away and he's got like blood coming out of his eyes. He's got like really red cheeks. I can't tell if that's blood or if that's like some sort of swelling, but he doesn't look very good. He looks like he's dead. And so that kind of pushes that group to take the pill and kind of get it over with. And in the other rooms, the other groups decide to do it as well. So eventually everyone either takes the pill or does something to kill themselves. And so everything's done. You know, the whole family has expired. It's a pretty interesting dramatic moment, except for, like I mentioned, the dancing part, which I didn't love. But overall, everything's done. And then at the very end, you pan over and you see Art, and he's clearly breathing. He's like breathing rapidly, and then his eyes open. So he survived the gas. But I don't know. Is it a happy ending? Because now he is alone in this house with his entire dead family. Like, he's a kid, he can't drive. Everyone in the house is dead. Even the person he was going to like not take the pill with, like to kind of support them, they took the pill, so they're dead. And the trigger for the trigger for his breakdown when he smelled the gas, when he got the gas, was he saw a family in a car that were all dead, and he like freaked out. He couldn't handle it. He started screaming. Now he's going to be in this house alone with like his entire dead family. Like, I don't really know if it's a happy ending or it didn't really seem like a happy ending. I think like maybe it was supposed to be a hopeful ending, but maybe it seems like he is just probably going to grab the pill as soon as he can and take that, because that is a terrible situation to wake up in. But you know, maybe there's hope. Maybe he's the sole survivor that's going to bring back the world. But so that is Silent Night. Ultimately, I think it's a rental. Like, I like the cast, I liked the drama, the themes were kind of interesting, but I don't think the comedy really added to it. And the ending had some really good aspects, especially some of the build up to it. But the ultimate ending, I thought, was kind of a letdown. So it's available on AMC Plus and in theaters December 3rd, 2021. You can check it out. I would probably recommend streaming on AMC Plus, but hey, you know what? If you want to go see it in theaters, you want that kind of weird Christmas movie, this is your chance. So thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot and make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.